Welcome to Redtastic. Story 1. I, 25 female, grew up in a very regular family until around age 19. My father, 50 male, and my mother, 52 female, were high school sweethearts and seemed to really love each other when I was young. While in college, they got a divorce. Neither of them would tell me details on why other than, "We've just grown apart." My mom began calling me less, and I grew closer to my dad because he was seemingly really upset at the end of such a long relationship. My mom really became absent from being a mother to me, and I never thought to ask why. We used to have a nice mother-daughter relationship, but in the months leading up to me going to college, then moving in, things changed. I didn't really want to ask. Fast forward 2 years and I'm engaged to my sweet male 25 and planning on a wedding after graduation. I told both of my parents, deciding to tell my mom because at the end of the day, she's my mother. Of course, my mom brings up the topic of children, and I say I never want any of my own. Maternal instincts were never there for me, and I never wanted to stop being my own person and doing my own thing and enjoying my career. My dad understood and was happy that I was even getting married. My mom just kind of shooed it away. And as quick as our conversation was, we went back to never speaking all too much. I was okay with it, honestly. My dad was my biggest support, and I got all the love and care from him I would need. Fast forward to 3 months ago, my dad calls me and sounds really out of it, but doesn't answer my questions and just tells me not to worry about it. Which of course I was. My wedding was this year, and I didn't want to find out anything crazy wrong was happening with him. My mom ended up calling me the same day. There wasn't any, "How's the wedding planning going? How's your fiancé? How are you?" Instead, she randomly brings up the idea of surrogacy. I asked her why, and she wouldn't give a clear-cut answer. She put it off as she and a friend were talking about it and wanted to know my opinion. I was just like, okay, it's great for those that choose that route. I wouldn't, but it's not for everyone. She hangs up soon after. I told my fiancé about it, and he thought it was weird, but also, my mom is just weird. A week later, I found out 2 things. 1, my mom is dating a guy that's closer to my age than hers, 32 male. 2nd, she invited me to a party to have me meet him. My dad ended up spilling the beans about the whole dating situation because he was still not fully himself. I asked him if he was okay. He said he was. It was just the fact of the age thing, as well as the fact that she cheated on my dad with this dude. So I was pissed when she asked me if I wanted to meet him. But I said yes so I can meet him in person and analyze the kind of person she was with him. See if she's really changed for the worse. She has. I showed up to this party a couple of days afterwards to find only her and the boyfriend there. There's a cake in the middle with "Will you be our surrogate?" written on it. It was the most awkward situation I've ever been in, but also the angriest I've ever been. My mom starts it with, "Sweetie, I'm so happy you get to finally meet him. And we have a very important question to ask you. He makes me very happy and we've been together since the divorce. I didn't want to upset you by letting you know I was dating again, but we want you to be our surrogate to help us start a family." I don't think I said anything for 2 minutes after she finished. The boyfriend butts in with, "It's nice to meet you. What do you think?" It took all my self-control to hold back myself from throttling either of them, but I mustered a, "Are you both mentally ill?" My mom gets pissed, boyfriend gets aggressive, saying things like, "It wouldn't be crazy injections and stuff. We should do it the natural way. Don't you want your mother to be happy?" I lost my absolute mind and started screaming that not only did my mom lie to me about why she and my dad got divorced, but she expects me to want to carry her child with the guy I quite literally just met. She wants me to even sleep with him, even though I have always been a no-child type of girl, and I'm literally getting married within the year. She genuinely heard him say, "Let's do it the natural way," and thought that was okay for him to say to me. I couldn't keep my anger down by the end of it and told them both to jump off a cliff. On the way out, I even slammed my hand on the cake they brought out because I couldn't hit them. As soon as I got in the car, I called my fiancé, freaking the frick out. Fiancé calls my mom and curses her out. It was a whole mess. Ever since, she's been texting me with passive-aggressive apologies and is still asking me to reconsider. I haven't even told my dad what happened because I genuinely can't even wrap my head around it. I don't even want to consider her as my mom anymore, so am I the a-hole here? Update. I told my dad about everything that happened that day. He was silent before hanging up the phone on me. Mom called me up half an hour later screaming that my dad was at their place banging on the door and threatening her boyfriend for suggesting all of it. I had to run over there to get my dad to calm down because he was so furious. The boyfriend came outside trying to act tough and said some pretty disgusting shit about my mom and I and having sex with us. My mom came out to defend her frickin' Boytoy. He ended up blurting out that he just wanted to sleep with me, period. The three of us stood there in shock that he just admitted that. My dad punched him in the face, my mom started crying and screaming at him, and I took my dad away. Neither of us have heard from her since that day, but I would hope that maybe him admitting his disgusting motive made her come to her senses a little bit. I don't know, I don't really care. I just hope she rots alone now. I sent her a text after that day saying she's banned from coming to my wedding and will be escorted off if she or that guy tries to come. She hasn't said anything back as of yet. Unfortunately, your mom does seem mentally ill, OP, because a mother in her right mind wouldn't be okay with her boyfriend saying he wants to sleep with her daughter. I'm glad your dad has been there for you when your mother hasn't. I hope he gets through this and understands that your mom isn't the woman he fell in love with anymore. I support you uninviting her from the wedding. She really shouldn't be there, especially since there's a high chance of her bringing her boyfriend along. I hope you have a wonderful wedding and the ceremony is fine without a hitch. Story 2. 2 weeks ago, I started going to the dentist. Without going into exactly why, I've been told that except for one tooth, all my teeth will have to be pulled. Naturally, I'm not thrilled about it. I'm only 28 and in addition to that, I've developed bald spots and I've been struggling with depression. In addition to that, I'm not great around strangers, so going to the dentist is already unpleasant to me. Pain notwithstanding. After I got my first appointment, I messaged my dentist over Viber to confirm the date and time. She's my age and seemed rather friendly. We talked for a bit after that about random things and joked around. I knew she was married and I personally didn't find her attractive, even though objectively I consider her pretty. I made some, in hindsight, possibly inappropriate jokes, but she didn't react negatively at the time. In fact, the next day, she told me how much she had to hold back not to laugh too loud and to wake her infant daughter. We talked maybe once or twice after that, but not really as long. Fast forward a few days later, I'm in the waiting room. She opens the door and tells me to come inside. As I step in, I see a guy standing in the room. I think he's leaving as I'm going in and don't think much about it. I start taking my jacket off and the guy sits down. There's chairs for when she's taking a break in the room. It's separate from the waiting room. Already I'm confused. She tells me to lay down on the weirdly shaped dentist head. 1,000 thoughts rushed through my head. What is she doing? Is she gonna pull my teeth in front of that random stranger? I'm not feeling comfortable at all about this, but she just casually gives me the anesthetic. As soon as she's done injecting it, she starts talking with the guy. I turn around and see him reading patients' files. She tells him not to do that while smiling and giggling. He just looks at her and smiles back. I'm completely lost and raging inside. She walks back to me and pulls a tooth out, then essentially rushes me out. As I'm putting my jacket on, she asks the guy if the bleeding stopped. It's at this point that I realize he's just a patient who decided it's okay to be present during my appointment and read private information about other patients. A few hours after arriving home, I messaged my sister, describing what happened and asking for advice. She agrees with me that what she did was not alright. I messaged her about rescheduling the next appointment for a different day, but she says that she has no more spots left for that day. Can we not have moronic spectators the next time? I ask. That moron is my cousin. Yeah, no problem, see ya Monday, she replies. I'm still pretty pissed off at this point, thinking I don't care who he was. He's not supposed to be present. But I leave it at that. The next day, I start feeling bad about it despite knowing I did nothing wrong and decide to apologize to her. She says it's fine and not an issue and she'll see me on Monday. Today, I arrived at my appointment just as she opened the door. She seemed like she didn't notice me, not really looking at me, but as she closed the door, she told me to come inside. I go inside and there's a woman sitting at the same spot her cousin was, but she bends down to her and whispers something, at which point the woman gets up and goes to sit down in the waiting room. She tells me to lay down and I do. I ask her if she's all right and she says she's great. I ask her if she's angry and she says we'll talk. All right, this isn't going to be pleasant. She's clearly pissed and about to stick a needle in my gums is what's going through my head. She sort of harshly sticks the needle in my gums and then says, "Listen, I'm a dentist. You're my patient. You have stepped out of the line with your jokes. You personally insulted me. What if it was a doctor sitting there? Would you want me to throw them out too?" I replied that I would be fine if another doctor was present, but not some random guy. She continues with, "I've been more than nice to you. From now on, I'm going to address you with sir, and there will be no more messages. That man was my brother." Even though she said it was a cousin, now she says it's a brother. Pulling teeth isn't $2,000. Not sure why she brought that up, but she just randomly did. "All right." I say, "Yeah, all right." She pulls 2 teeth and sends me home. Sorry for the wall of text. I just wanted to make sure I explained the situation properly. I feel like she brought up the jokes because I called her cousin an idiot, and not because she took issue with them. Although I would understand if she did, even though I considered them harmless at the time. As comfortable as I felt before going to the dentist, it's 10 times worse now. I'm worried she's not gonna give a shit if I'm in pain or not. Am I the a-hole? OP, this whole situation is really strange. You're texting your dentist and making inappropriate jokes. This sort of breaches the professional doctor-patient relationship. Your dentist is an asshole for making you feel uncomfortable during your sessions. She shouldn't have had people in the office around the time or while you were getting operated on. You're also an a-hole based on how you handled the situation. You could have been a lot more diplomatic in the situation, and you definitely shouldn't have called the guy a moron. Now for some comments. You need a new dentist. Even her behavior before your appointment seems unprofessional. I'm not sure that there's really a problem with your doctor, dentist, etc. being that friendly, but it seems weird to me. And then having patients hanging out in the room looking at patient files, totally unacceptable. What she did was very out of line and, like you said, illegal. I would contact the licensing board in your area and report this. This is completely unprofessional and something that should be reported. I wouldn't be going back there. Anytime a doctor has had a medical student, resident, or another doctor in the room, I've been introduced and asked if it's okay. I would report this ASAP. Unless a brother, cousin is some sort of medical colleague, what she did is questionably a violation of HIPAA. Even if he is, it's probably a violation. Even if it weren't, it is so unbelievably inappropriate and unprofessional that I don't know what to say. Regardless of who he is, she needs your permission for him to be present. You need a new dentist and you probably have grounds for legal action if that's what you want. Also, it's really weird that you text with your dentist. So in short, no, you are not an a-hole.